What is going on, you guys? Today I have another episode for you where we're going to be reviewing a YouTube channel called Men Need to Be Heard. And the title here is The Biggest Reasons Why Men Are Walking Away from Relationships. Let's get into it.
All right, ladies, I'm about to give you 3 reasons why men are walking away from dating and relationship. And I'm going to be honest, you're probably not going to like what I'm about to tell you because I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So if you can't handle the truth, you might as well just scroll on past because you're probably going to get a little bit upset. Ladies, for years now, you've all told men that you don't want them, don't need them, have no use for them. You've all declared that you don't need no man. That is until you do. Then you all start asking, where did all the men go? Why are men ignoring me? Why don't men want anything to do with me? Which later turns into rage, anger, and bitterness at men for rejecting you, which then starts the cycle all over again. Men have seen this toxic insanity for decades now. They fully realize that bitches do indeed be crazy, and the best thing for any man, dare I say all men, is to avoid that craziness at all costs. Sorry, ladies, but men are done dealing with these little mind games y'all love to play and the ping-ponging back and forth. Thanks, but no thanks. You do you, and we'll just sit back and watch as you do. Y'all claim to be strong and independent. Well, now men have decided to let you just be that. Men have heard you and are saying, okie dokie, then by all means, you go do you and leave us the hell alone. Which leads me to yet another reason.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I know what he's saying, right? And I agree. I would say, because a lot of that comes from like the boss chick or the boss babe mentality. And it's better to do like what a lot of the guys were saying, right? It's like, okay, cool, like you do your thing, right? No use like arguing with you, right? That's the better, more stoic approach, anyways, right? So like no use chasing them. But funny, I feel like it's more of a ploy for attention, like, oh, I don't need no man, but deep down there's like this voice deep in their core that's like, but I want one, right? I think that's the problem because they were fed this lie about like climbing the ladder, being a boss babe, blah blah blah, independent, don't need no man, etc. So they believe that based on other things that they were being told by the people. And there's nothing wrong with ambition, right? I think guys find that sexy. The problem comes in when they're like combative and overly masculine and they cause you headaches, right? Rather than wanting to be feminine, bring you peace, you two being in a relationship or dating, making each other's lives easier, right? Rather than all this friction, right? So that's where the problem comes in, because guys just have no interest in that. We just want peace and respect, really. So that's why, I know what he's saying, right? It's like the more stoic approach, the chill approach is like, hey, like, okay, cool. Like, you seem like very like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't need a man. So cool, right? Like, do your thing. Hopefully you really love your life. Seriously, right? Like, that's what I think most guys are thinking is like, hopefully that's really as fulfilling as they're saying it to be. But it comes across in like a little kid way, right? Like, I don't need a man, like, or like they have like a megaphone, like they're trying to be loud about it. Like, oh, I don't need a man. It's like, okay, cool. Like why are you yelling? Right? Like, why are you screaming at us about that? Like, no use in doing that. Like, enjoy.
Which occurs within that cycle of insanity that I just described. Specifically the part where y'all suddenly decide that you want or need a man in your life, but only if it's on your terms. Y'all have declared that you've raised your standards, which is really nothing more than you saying you want your cake and eat it too. And men, well, they don't even deserve to get the crumbs off your plate. Tell me, ladies, why? Why do you all think men would have any interest in dealing with that kind of mindset? Oh, we all know that you say you're fighting for equality, to be equal partners in a relationship. Hell, I'm sure many of you actually believe it when you say it. But the reality we men know is that today's women are only seeking to maintain the status quo, where they get to be provided for while offering nothing, literally nothing of value in return. Oh, you all argue that you offer this, but what you don't seem to realize is that for 99% of you, this is about as valuable to men as that fine jewelry you find in a dollar store. For all your claims about wanting to have an equal relationship, the first and often only criteria y'all have is that the man be able to fund whatever lifestyle you deem yourself worthy of, even if said lifestyle is well out of the range of possibility for you and them. It's also why women who are at best mid think they deserve a perfect 10 man and will do anything and everything they can to get him, all while rejecting the good guys, the average guys who are more in their realm of possibility because, well, they simply aren't quite good enough. It's also why y'all have these lavish expectations of things like expensive dates from day one because, well, you are the table, and thus that's what you deserve. And on the off chance that you do manage to get that date with the Chad or Kyle, then you quickly find out he's only looking to pump and dump you. And then he's going to move on to his next conquest, just like they've done to the woman before you, and the woman before that, and the one before that. I hate to break it to you ladies, but these Chads and Kyles, they aren't looking for relationships, and certainly not with women who are 3s, 4s, and 5s. Hell, not even the 7s, 8s, and 9s. And why should they, when they can have their pick of the litter, and 10 after 10 is literally begging to be with them? And when those Chads use you and toss you aside, what do? You do the same thing all the bitter rejected women do. You don't take accountability for constantly chasing those so-called bad boys. Oh, hell no, not a chance of that happening. Instead, y'all declare it's all men. All men are just like that Chad, the one that you threw yourselves out, who then turned around and hit and quit you. Those decent working guys, the ones you rejected as not good enough, not worthy enough, because they didn't meet your outrageous demands. Oh wait, sorry, higher standards? Yeah, you then decide that they're just like those Chads. At least that's what you tell yourselves, rather than looking in the mirror and saying, it's my bad choices that led to this. Which leads to the third reason, and the one that is only...
Well, that last thing he said was pretty interesting, right? Because, like, I think across the board, men have seen that, right? And it's like a sad thing, right? Because there's good women out there, right? So it's like really unfortunate when you see a situation where it doesn't matter who it is, right? If it's a man or a woman, right? Like, if they're not willing to take accountability for something, right? That's the least you could do, is take accountability for your choices, right? And notice your patterns, be more self-aware. Because that's like, I would say that's like one of the biggest issues here is like, okay, well, if they keep continuing to date a certain type of guy, maybe it's, it's the definition of insanity, right? Like, you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Maybe there's something wrong with your approach, right? And I would encourage a guy to think that way too, right? Like, if he's not getting dates or he keeps dating quote unquote toxic women, well, what's the reason for that? Do you not feel like you're worth more, right? Like, do you have like low self-esteem? Do you have trouble just understanding the dating process, right? Like, are you sort of like new to it, or maybe even still a little bit naive to it, right? Because that's the thing too, right? Guys have like a Disney mentality around dating, sometimes more than women. So like, sometimes guys just don't understand women and dating and the dynamics there, because all they did was focus on themselves, with like, get my body right, get my fitness right, and then they get played, right? Like, they get into real bad situations with women in dating because they think now it's going to be easy, but you're just getting started when you don't know anything about the realm of dating or finding, let's say, interviewing. It's a funny way of putting it, but interviewing for a really great long-term relationship, because that's how guys end up dating and marrying and having a kid with the red flag. Yeah, I'm just being real with you. So that's an important skill set to develop, right? It's called social skills, right? So apply that to dating. So you want to continue leveling that up while you're doing the other things. Don't be the guy who's using it as like a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism, like, oh, I'll get to that after I handle the other things. You should basically pepper in socializing and dating as you're growing your finances, your fitness, etc., right? You're learning, you're reading books, growing your character, traveling maybe, becoming a man of substance, right? So, yeah, I mean, accountability is huge, huge, huge. I mean, you can't overlook that on the men or women's side.
Going to keep growing. Men are done and walking away from dating, relationships, and marriage because there's literally no benefit, not a single one to them. It's become all risk and absolutely no reward. Not financially, not spiritually, not mentally, not emotionally, hell, in most cases, not even physically, if you catch my drift. Simply put, the return on investment isn't there. And guys have seen that. They've seen it for the reality that it is. Men have realized that the cost of expensive dates to try and woo a woman only for her to turn around and ghost him is an exercise in futility, especially...
Okay, this is important, right? You might have watched one of my videos and heard me say this before, but if you haven't, here we go, right? So, under no circumstances should you be taking a girl that you barely know on expensive dates. Or, for that matter, taking them out on a bunch of lunch and coffee dates to begin with, right? Here's why. Because a lot of guys, they fall into what we just talked about. They focused on maybe their fitness or their finances or just one of them, right? And so maybe they're financially well off and they got it like that, right? They can take all these girls to fancy sushi, first dates, etc., etc. Well, think about it like this. Even if you do have it like that, think about how you could make that money work for you and make it grow if you weren't shelling out. I want, like, maybe even like in a budgeting way, like you could use like an Excel spreadsheet or something. It's kind of hilarious, but total up how much you might be spending out on first dates if you did stuff like that. And you were consistently looking for like a meaningful relationship or consistently dating, right? Looking for a partner or whatever you're looking for, right? Add that total up and see how much you could be saving and how much you could be using to make your money grow. Let's say per month or something like that. However often you're dating. Because some guys aren't even dating, right? Or like they date like once per month, once every couple months because they're having trouble with it, to be frank with you, right? So this is a really important point because I know guys who are like leading with money. Hey, can I buy you a drink? Let me pick you up in my Bugatti, my my Lambo for our first date and take you to a 5-star Michelin restaurant so I can woo you. It's not, I don't think guys understand, right? It's not about impressing her. It's about feeling out the vibe because she's attractive, but is she cool? It's not, I hope she likes me. I hope this is my next girlfriend. It's, let's see if she's cool, right? Let's see if I actually want to see her again, right? Let's see if there's a decent connection. And just have a bit of flirting, have a bit of, deeper conversation and see where it goes, right? It's more of like an interview almost. And I don't mean to say, because you don't, a lot of guys get into interview mode on dates, right? Where they ask really vanilla and honestly like not very good questions, right? Like, how many siblings do you have? Where are you from? Like versus like, what was it like growing up in, I don't know, Delaware, right? Or, what was it like growing up in Thailand? What was that experience for you? Little things like that, or like, what makes you so passionate about going to the gym? Right? Those are a bit deeper, but then you could add some flirting, right? Like, essentially, I'm giving you guys the sauce right now. I know this is a little bit of a tangent on the video, but like, say she's really into fitness, right? You can be like, oh, like, that's awesome. Like, I really respect that you're really into your health and, getting your body right, going to the gym. That's fantastic. Wait, one second. Flex for me, and you get her to kind of like lift her arm up and flex. And basically you just keep saying, come on, flex, right? And you see, she's like flexing, but it's not really like coming through too much. And she's like, wait, I am flexing. And then she realizes that you're joking with her, right? Because, like, she's trying her best. But yeah, I think you get the gist, right? It's funny, it's playful. You get to like kind of break the touch barrier in a playful way, right? You're joking with her. You're not too serious. And so she sees that you're not afraid to do that. Right, so that's a huge difference. And one last thing, I know I touched on this for a second, is like guys might go to the bar. I'm not saying this is impossible, but it's very unlikely that you're going to find your fulfilling long-term relationship, mother of your children, in the bar or the club. Let's just be real with each other. But let's say you are going there, right? One of the worst things guys do is like introduce themselves with, hey, can I buy you a drink? It's like, hey, can I buy your time? Which leads us back to avoiding the foodie call. It's like a play on booty call. Don't let them convince you to do sushi instead of coffee, right? Because if a girl really likes you, she'll be literally willing to do like chill in the park, sit on the grass, and have like a picnic that barely costs anything, or a walk, on the beach. Do something chill. Like it could not cost anything at all, or you could just do something very inexpensive like coffee, right? Because that's going to rack up a lot less than those expensive dates that this guy's talking about. So I 100% recommend you save those for a girl that has earned it, right? You've been seeing her for a while, right? Like maybe some sort of anniversary, maybe her birthday, Christmas, something, right? Like you get my drift. It's something to be earned, and you can save for that occasion because it's like, wow, like this girl's a real one. Like she's cool. We've been having a good time, a good connection, no red flags. All right, now I can take her to this place. I think you get my drift.
Considering that even if she doesn't play that ghost game at first, the chances are more than 80% of the time she's going to do so in the future. The corresponding risk of losing everything if things don't progress when she suddenly decides or gets convinced by her friends that she can do better is very real, and men know it. And it provides clear...
Okay, and I don't mean to, pause the video again so quickly, but you got to be careful of that, right? Like, people are the sum of the 5 people they allow to influence them the most, or that they're around, that they listen to the most, right? So she's got a bunch of single friends or a bunch of friends who potentially behave badly. Like, you can kind of see what they're like. I mean, even if they're all married, right? What's the reason that they're going to the bar without their guys? What's the reason that they're going to the club to go dancing without their guys? I mean, you tell me, right? Because they could just as easily be going out to coffee together or something chill during the day where there aren't a bunch of single people. We're in an environment where it kind of implies there's a lot of single people. And of course, like they could say, oh, like I'm married, but like realistically, like they're not protecting the relationship by going to those places, number one. And 2, if they start drinking at all, they're being really irresponsible. And men can do that too, right? And both sides can do it. But keep that in mind, because women like there's a lot of stories of like women going on like girls' nights out, girls' trips, bachelorette party in Vegas, blah, blah, blah. And they cheat on their fiance, their husband, their boyfriend, whatever. And it's because they had a cheerleader section of badly behaving girlfriends who encouraged it. That's the raw truth of that. So you got to be really careful of who you're investing your time in there.
And convincing evidence that long-term relationships or marriage simply isn't worth it for men anymore, because women have proven beyond any doubt that their word, their so-called promise of commitment, is utterly meaningless. Men have figured out that the minute you're all
right, and one more. I know I don't mean to pause it so much, but there's a great YouTuber that I recommend you check out called Psych Hacks. This is going to be really quick. So basically, he said something really good once where like when a woman says something to you, you want to insert I feel, then the sentence that she used, and at the end of it you tack on right now. So it's like, this one is a really hard hitter. So it's like, I feel like I love you right now, which means it's subject to change, right? Because they're more like feeling based, emotional than guys are, more logic based. Because guys will think, I did all these things for a woman so that she has all this love and respect for me that we built over the course of years. But reality shows that that's not always true. And that's part of the importance of picking a good one, right? One that's smart, level-headed, has her head on right, is actually like green flag, relationship mother material, rather than you choosing poorly, right? Because that's a huge, huge difference here.
Or you don't feel valued, you're going to toss them aside, try and take him for every penny you can, and then go around trashing him publicly, claiming it's all his fault because he didn't meet your needs. All of your needs, no matter how outrageous or unrealistic they were. A bit disingenuous, to say the least, especially considering that the more likely reality is that it was you who didn't meet a single one of his needs. Yeah, thanks ladies, but no thanks. Gonna be a hard pass. And now that you're finding your newfound freedom, what are you all gonna do? Well, of course, you're gonna go back to chasing Chad after Chad. and repeating the cycle over and over again, only to inevitably reach the it's all men stage again. Ladies, men have seen this cycle repeated over and over again. And if women are going to run around declaring that all men are like that Chad or Kyle, then they might as well be like Chad or Kyle. Which is why, when women eventually come face to face with the reality, usually sometimes in their 30s or early 40s, that they've hit the wall and they need to find someone, when they reach that moment when they suddenly decide that they're willing to settle or lower their standards, they end up getting pumped and dumped by the very men that rejected them before. Those very same good men that they treated like trash for years. Karma is a fickle bitch, and for today's women, it ends up biting them in the ass when they get older. Sorry, ladies, to be so blunt, but that's the reality. You got no one to blame but yourselves. Men didn't create this world, you did. And men are seeing it for the absolute insanity that it is. And that's why, ladies, men are done and walking away.
All right, so good video. He's got a lot of good points there. And these are all things, it's effectively the same thing that I say to guys about the red pill, right? Is like, learn about female nature and mating and dating dynamics, whatever you want to call it, the raw realities of it, and use this as a tool set, right, to navigate relationships, finding a good partner for you, right? And not stay bitter, because you could just stay bitter and you'd be like, oh, I'm going my own way, and you give up, right? It looked like, of course, like guys, like we all have sympathy for each other there, but I don't have sympathy for the guy who gives up. I'll just be real with you, right? And so I've said this enough on other videos, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. And there's always like a guy in the comment section who's like, oh, like that's why it's not worth it anymore, bro. It's like, okay, cool. Like, it's the same thing as like the woman. This is gonna hit hard for you, and I'm I'm not sorry, but it's the same exact thing as what he was saying earlier about when the woman says, well, I don't need no man, blah, blah, blah. That's the man version, right? That's why it's not worth it anymore, bro. Like, that's why I've given up. It's like, okay, bro, like no one's gonna argue with you about it. Like go ahead, right? The only thing that I want to encourage you to do, right, is you get to choose your hard. You get to choose, okay, you went through all this pain and suffering and you're giving up. You can choose that hard. Or you can choose the hard of, despite all of that, using your knowledge that you have now, right, and navigating to find the most fulfilling relationship, right, where, you know, no matter what your situation is, if you have kids already or whatever, right, being able to actually find a fulfilling, high-quality partner and relationship, right? You can choose your hard. And basically all I want you to do is picture the end of your life where you're on your rocking chair or, you know, on a bed and you're thinking, like, do you have any regrets? Right? Do you wish that you hadn't been so stubborn and let your ego get in the way and allow that pain or what other people thought to hold you back from reaching a really meaningful relationship with someone? You tell me, right? So I encourage guys not to hold on to like the bitterness, because you're really just poisoning yourself, right? You're like keeping that there, the grudges, the bitterness, whatever, rather than letting go, because you can enjoy your life if you do that, right? And we both know it's, you know, one thing to add on to this is a lot of guys don't realize that they need purpose. And one indicator for longer, healthier lives is great relationships, right? So like, for example, when a guy who's retired and he worked the same job his whole life or whatever, if he's no longer got his purpose, right, he feels a bit aimless, and then let's say his wife passed away before him, then he has the loneliness factor, and he's more likely to pass away more quickly because of that, right? So this shows the importance of having meaningful connections in your life. So I really encourage you guys to think about that before actually giving up, because really, I mean, I don't encourage that at all, no matter what the area of your life is like, get back up and figure it out, right? You can choose your hard. And one last thing I would add to this, you know, I would almost add to the title of the video, like the biggest reasons why men are walking away from relationships in westernized countries or westernized cultures. Like, anyone's that are experiencing those mindsets or demeanors from women, like that makes sense, right? Which is why a lot of there's a lot of like guys who are remote workers, work from home, digital nomads, right? Who, stretch their dollar in another country, so they move away from their country, set up shop in a different place where maybe there are more women who are respectful, right, and not acting crazy like this, and more feminine, supportive, caring, like actually respect their men. Like that's huge. And you see the peace. There's tons of videos on the internet of guys with their girlfriend or the wife after they moved and they met her in a different country where they're loving it, right? And really they had no reason to prove anything at that point, right? It's like they're at peace, they're loving it. And I would highly recommend that you look up some of those videos too, because that would be probably pretty encouraging for you. Anyways, guys, that's probably enough of an ear beating for me. Definitely a interesting video here, some good points. And so thank you for watching this far. If you think this video may benefit someone, send them a message. Send this video with it, of course. And yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You got this, bro.